Hey everyone, it's Raj from 3CB Performance. Arsenal have their eyes on Celtic and Scottish national team left-back Kieran Tierney, allegedly tabling two separate escalating bids and offering to triple his wages to acquire his services. Tierney's talent level is undeniable, as he's a powerful two-way player known for his driving runs down the left flank, versatility having filled in well at center back and right back when needed, strong leadership as he captained both Celtic and Scotland at the ripe age of 21, and repeatedly praised for his professionalism and work ethic by Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers. Accordingly, he's won Scotland's PFA Young Player of the Year award for 3 years running. Based on that talent and skill level, he plugged in very well into Arsenal's left side, reflected by the North London side's rare and willing aggression in these negotiations. Perhaps a sign of things to come under this new managing regime? I dreamed a dream. However, Kieran has had some injury concerns during his career. That's not something any Arsenal fan wants to hear, particularly after having seen half their backline, Hector Bellerin and Rob Holding, suffer season-ending ACL injuries last season. Tierney dealt with a quote-unquote hip problem throughout the season that limited him to only 19 league appearances. This problem was in fact a double hernia. There are multiple different types of hernias, which is when a tissue bulges out through a space that it's not meant to pass through and the trapped tissue becomes painful. A common example is an inguinal hernia, where said tissue passes through the lower abdominal region near the groin, often with the tissue creating a palpable protrusion. There's also something known as a quote-unquote sports hernia, which according to research accounts for nearly 50% of hernia conditions in footballers, possibly due to overdeveloped adductor muscles and constant high-intensity cutting. However, the term sports hernia is a colloquialism because this problem isn't a true hernia. Rather, it's known as quote-unquote athletic pubalgia. This happens when the tissue that forms the inner part of the abdominals tear and attaches the pubic bone tears. Based on Tierney's profile, a high-level footballer who's been dealing with a chronic hernia problem that's aggravated with activity, and after consulting with an orthopedist familiar with these injuries, it's likely that Kieran has athletic pubalgia on both sides, or a double sports hernia. Tierney attempted to treat the issue conservatively with medication and therapy, which often solves the problem, but that didn't work for him. Therefore, he underwent surgery after the season finished. We don't know the exact details of the surgery, but it's usually done via a fiber optic scope and typically involves a combination of repairing the abdominal wall and partially cutting the overdeveloped adductor muscles so they don't overpower the abdominal wall. The return to play after the procedure is 2 to 3 months, depending on severity, and long-term research that followed footballers for multiple years after the surgery showed very good outcomes with no residual deficits and low recurrence rates. To that point, if there's anything I'd be concerned about with Tierney, it's not the hernia issue. Rather, it's the calf strain he picked up in March 2018, which caused him to miss over 3 weeks and then miss 2 games nearly a year later with calf sclerosis, which is usually caused by the formation of scar tissue from an earlier injury, like that initial calf strain. Kieran also had an ankle ligament injury in late October 2016, but he was able to return in 3 months without any adverse effects, self-admittedly using that time to become even more fit in the gym. Overall, Kieran's injury history doesn't concern me all that much. Yes, this last year doesn't look good in terms of games played, but considering it was the same double hernia injury, likely a sports hernia with good outcomes post-surgery that plagued him all year, I'm not overly concerned about it moving forward. Further, there's also something to be said about a player who's able to play through a manageable injury and wants to give it his all for the team. I never condone playing through pain, but it does take a certain mentality and resilience to do it. Further, calf strains are quite common in high-level football players these days, especially with youngsters who aren't as developed with their muscular endurance and strength. And his ankle ligament injury was a contact injury in practice rather than a non-contact, which would point to a more nefarious underlying issue. Lastly, he hasn't re-injured the ankle since returning, which is a major concern after ligament damage. For example, see Harry Kane. Accordingly, if Arsenal can get Tierney at a reasonable price, his injury history for a player of his quality, age, and team fit shouldn't deter them that much. the move would tilt heavily toward reward. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching. My goal is to provide you with in-depth, evidence-based, narrative-free analysis, and you can always find me on IG and Twitter at 3CB Performance. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for the latest updates. 3CB out.